Resident Evil Code Veronica X is a survival horror video game developed and published by Capcom and released for the Sega Dreamcast in 2000. It is the fourth major installment in the Resident Evil series and the first to debut on a separate platform from the PlayStation. The story takes place 3 months after the events of Resident Evil 2 1998 and the concurrent destruction of Raccoon City as seen in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis 1999. It follows Claire Redfield and her brother Chris Redfield in their efforts to survive a rival outbreak, with both of them on a remote prison island in the Southern Ocean and a research facility in Antarctica. The game retains the traditional survival horror controls and gameplay seen in the previous series installments. However, unlike the pre-rendered backgrounds of the previous games, Code Veronica X utilizes real-time 3D environments and dynamic camera movements. The roots of Code Veronica X development can be traced back to an unsuccessful attempt to port Resident Evil 2 to the Sega Saturn, after producer Shinji Mikami and his team learned they would be unable to port the game. They began development on the original game, which eventually became Code Veronica X. The game was originally intended to be a true sequel to Resident Evil 2, and is still referred to as such by its creators. The title of Resident Evil 3 was given to what was originally a spin-off game being developed in tandem for the PlayStation. Claire was designed with a tougher appearance than in Resident Evil 2, with the reason being her past experiences in Raccoon City. Unlike the American horror themes and settings of the previous games in the series, Code Veronica X employs a setting in the Southern Ocean and the European Gothic horror design. This is achieved through the use of Gothic architecture, in addition to the writing style and story presentation by Capcom. Capcom announced Code Veronica X in August 1998 and released it in February 2000 after delays and reductions in sales expectations due to the struggling Dreamcast platform. Sales were weak compared to the series' predecessors, but strong compared to other games on the system. The title received critical acclaim and has been considered both among the best Resident Evil games and Dreamcast gamers of all time. Capcom released an updated version of the PlayStation 2 and Dreamcast titled Code Veronica X. The revised version included new cutscenes which revealed more details about the story, and it was later ported to the GameCube in addition to other platforms in later years. Code Veronica was adapted for the Capcom's Gun Survivor series, with Resident Evil Survivor 2, Code Veronica 2002, and also later adapted for Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles 2009.
Don't move.
Code Veronica X. What can I say about this game, except that it is probably one of the best in the Resident Evil series, not including Resident Evil 4, and probably one of my favourites in the series. Most days people frown upon these type of games for not having good visuals or not looking realistic enough, but for older generations it was a laughable experience with its clunky controls and visuals looking like somebody shot into a doggy bag and passed at you. It's still a very fun game to play to this day. You find yourself laughing at how ridiculous the dialogue can be for the characters, like Sir Alfred sounds like a diva queen who just had a bad hair day, or how Steve sounds like he needs his feeding bottle again. Enemies like shit to a fly, you can simply buzz around them. Some enemies like the dogs can be very annoying, especially when it comes to areas where you need to find a key, and they lunge at you like a chihuahua that wants to shag your leg like no tomorrow, or how you waste so much ammo on one enemy and come across a boss and you have no ammo to spare, so you have to start the process all over again. But there are many ways to make this game a lot more easier for you. For instance, straight away at the very start of the game, you can get infinite health. And there are many glitches in this game that make it more of a funny experience, especially when they are least unexpected glitches that just seem to happen at random times. It's just laughable. It makes you feel like you want to find more glitches or more secrets to this game, and trust, there's a lot of them and a lot of backtracking. For instance, to get this door you need this material that duplicates any item, but in this case one item. So at the very start of the game you get a very simple puzzle that forces you to backtrack to the very start of the game. I like this idea. It seems very simple on paper, but actually it isn't. You think it would be because it's just running back and grabbing a briefcase, but you got to remember this game came out when the internet was very new, meaning there was a hell of a lot of people who didn't look up many walkthroughs or helpful tips on games they were playing. You was lucky to find anything in a magazine you bought. I remember playing this game when I was a kid, and I loved it and I hated it at the same time. I could never get past the beginning part with the 3D scanner. I never knew what to do. That was the problem. There was never any hints or tips in the game's files or text that would help you through this game. You had to look up every nook and cranny to find anything. But in spring in 2018 I finally completed this game, and I felt a little bit sad about my experience in the first hand when I was a kid and never completing it. I just had to pick up that controller and start all over again, and I loved every moment of this. I have no problems playing with old school tank controls. It makes me feel more accomplished about completing the game by using the tank controls that fuck up every time you want to do something. But this game that graced us and left us with a feeling that Capcom would never be the same again, and they never were. More releases that fell from grace by making Resident Evil 5 and then Resident Evil 6, which was a flop. Capcom never made another survival horror game that felt great like the Resident Evil series 1 to 4. Considering when the game released, the gameplay and the graphics ain't that bad. Sure, they don't feel like a Resident Evil 4 sort of game, and of course the areas can be a little bit boxy and foxy at times and feel like the graphics look like an animated GIFs at times as well, and the characters' animations during cutscenes feel robotic every now and then. It feels very much like an original PS1 game, which means that it's a very easy game to navigate with controls and areas, but it doesn't feel like a PS2 game. It feels like they took advantage of the new specs of the PS2 era. The zombies feel repetitive as well, but what do you expect? Developers can't make thousands of different variations of zombies to populate one island. So what I say, my friends, is if you want a true horror experience, go and look at someone's granny in the shower, for fuck's sake.
Chris Redfield.
What are you doing here?
Chris Redfield. Is he a relative of yours or something?
You mean my brother?
Ah, your siblings. Well, it seems your brother is under surveillance by Umbrella.
What? I've got to contact Leon and tell him to let my brother know he's being monitored. It's a good thing I have access to an outside connection from here.
Well, that file shows the latitude and longitude of this place. Why don't you send your brother the coordinates and ask him to come help?
Thanks, I'll do that.
Hey, I was just kidding. There's no way he could get here, even if he is your brother.
Yes, he can, I'm sure of it.
No way. He won't come. You'll just end up disappointed if you rely on others. Believe me, I know.
What was that all about?
One half of Code Veronica is spent with Claire Redfield, whilst the other half is spent with Chris, her brother. Basic character actions include running, attacking, as well as pushing and climbing objects. Items the player collects can be viewed on the status screen. From here, they can be examined to find clues to solve puzzles, and some can also be equipped. Also available in the status screen is a map and a file menu. All notes found in the game are saved in the game's files and may be essential to solve puzzles. The player can only hold a limited number of items at a given time. Other items must be stored into the storage boxes located throughout the game. The player character may receive damage which can be healed with restored items. Herbs which restore character health can be combined with other types of herbs to become more effective. Too much damage will result in a game over screen at any point of this game. At this point the game must be continued from the last save point. Partner's death will also result in a game over screen. Some weapons are better suited for battling certain enemies, some of which have weaknesses to elements like fire and acid. Once the game is beaten once, battle mode is unlocked. The mode gives the player character infinity ammo and places them in random locations with different enemies. This is a great mode to play if you want to complete the game. I suggest doing it on easy, complete it, do battle mode, get your infinity ammo and whatever for any type of gun, and just have fun with this game. It is a lot of fun to play, and I recommend playing it before it actually comes off PSN, or I don't think they've got it for Xbox One, but if they have, please let me know. But it is a very fun game to play. My friend Miss Ducky, I made this one for her. She's a real big fan of Code Veronica X as well as me. I don't know if she's completed it, but I have, and I'll be doing a full walkthrough on my other channel. I'll be live streaming it, and I'll show you some glitches as well as tips and tricks. And if you did enjoy the video, please give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, put thumbs down and go and tell your mum to suck a lemon. Pieces, bros and girls. Just to let you know, throughout playing the game, I've completed it. It's been a while since I played the game, so once I start live streaming it, I'll put some notes down on what I like about it and what I hate about it, and there will be a part 2 of this. Also, there'll be another part 3 to Resident Evil 2, hints and tips, and if you want to check them out, they're in the playlist of my game reviews. I don't class these as game reviews, I just class them as me talking about them. But anyway, that's the end of this video, so I hope you really did enjoy it, and if you did, like I said, put a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know where to go.